Now we're moving on to our third speaker of the day, who is the last speaker, and we're going to talk about the animal which is behind me here, the rhino. Have you ever wondered what rhinos think in their big head, what sound they make? Okay, so let's go into the rhinos. Our third speaker is Dr. Romero Rufuno. He has been practicing in the bush for 4 years, but in the first call that I had with him, he said that he has worked with rhinos and he has even lost count of how many of the rhinos he has worked with, to the extent that now he can hear what they think in their head. He can even know what's going on in the heads of the rhinos. And I think it's very nice that we're going to hear about rhinos from him. And he is the senior wildlife vet in the Kruger National Park. Dr. Rufano, the screen is all yours. Rufano, the screen is all yours. But before I hand over to you, I would like to go through the key learning outcomes. By the end of Dr. Rufano's talk, you should be able to understand the difference between black and white rhino immobilization, including the terrain, behavior, and approach. Secondly, you should be able to identify the key drugs and their combinations for effective and safe anesthesia, including induction, monitoring, and reversal. Thirdly, you should be able to apply safe darting techniques, correct recumbency position, and proper handling during immobilization and transport. Lastly, you should be able to recognize critical monitoring indicators and precautions for cow-calf pair to prevent complications and ensure successful recovery. Thank you so much, Dr. Rufano. Over to you now. Let me stop sharing. The screen is all yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I feel honored being invited to do this talk. Instead, I'm going to be talking about immobilization of black and white rhinos. It's mostly for short procedures, things like treatments, and also ear notching, dehorning, and also removal of snaring, which also falls under treatment. Black and white rhinos, those two species, those are the species that we have here in South Africa. With black rhinos, we also have two subspecies, which are the minor, and then you got the bicornis. And then the bicornis, you find them way down in the south of South Africa, and they're a bit bigger compared to the minors that we have at the northern part of South Africa. So I'm just gonna dive into immobilization and anesthesia. I think most of the stuff have been covered by my previous speakers. So let's dive in. So as we know, black rhinos and white rhinos are two different species with different behaviors. From the habitats, also how they look, and also what they eat. Black rhinos, they are mostly found in thick bushes because they're browsers. They prefer to eat bushes. Where you find your kudus and your nyalas, that's where you will find your black rhinos. And also that terrain makes it difficult also to access them or to work with them, because most of those terrains are rugged, and their access is not very easy. And while you're working with black rhino, depending on where you're working, when you're working up in the Kruger, some of them you can find them in an open area or just mild, thick bushes. When you go to other places like the Rhinos National Park, you're definitely going to have a problem and when to access those animals. And just remember, it doesn't matter where you're working. If you're working with a black rhino, always carry a chainsaw. It's going to save your life or make things easier, because these guys, they always prefer to go into the bush and just fall into deep inside a thick bush. So always make sure you've got a chainsaw to recover them or to make way and access the animal. And then with white rhinos, they are sweeters. I mean, less aggressive compared to black rhinos. They are grazers. They just like your cattle. Um, when you dart them, most of the time you're gonna find them in an open area. You will find some in a thick mopani, which also for me it's not a problem. It's a thick mopani. It doesn't bite, unlike the bushes that you really get around black rhinos. That most of them they will bite you. I mean the bushes. And then before you plan your capture, know the area where you're going to capture, because some, I mean, even white rhinos, when you immobilize them, they get to a point where you cannot control them. They just run. No matter what you do, you can't control them, especially when you're using a helicopter. So 90%, I'll say 100% of the work that I do in the field, it's with a helicopter. So when you dart these animals, especially a black rhino, it's not easy to get to immobilize a black rhino from a vehicle unless if the black rhino is in a boma or in an enclosure. But with a white rhino, you can approach closer, but I still think it is dangerous. You can at least do it on a vehicle. But there are some people who do immobilize white rhinos from on foot and from vehicles. And the other reasons why I prefer or we prefer helicopters when we immobilize rhinos. As long as it's in the field, we prefer helicopters for for few reasons. I mean, with black rhinos, we know it's a dangerous, and I mean, it's very aggressive and it can be dangerous. I've seen black rhinos when you approach them, some of them don't even run from the helicopter, especially those dominant bulls. They turn around and try to charge the helicopter. Imagine you on a vehicle or you on foot, you disturb them trying to immobilize them, obviously they are going to come for you. We have seen a lot of videos trending of black rhinos smashing cars and all those. And then I'm not saying white rhinos are not gonna do it, but most of the time white rhinos are very calm and chilled. So the other reason why we use a helicopter is with the bushes that we're working on or the distance that the animal can run. You put a dart in, they just run, they disappear. Especially with black rhino, um, considering their habitat, when they disappear, you're gonna take time to find them. So with a helicopter you can just see where they are running and you can still control them, especially around areas where there is water. You don't want them to fall or to jump into the rivers or dams or fall into the dongas, because that you end up killing the animal instead of saving it or going on with the procedure that you want to do. So this is also I took this I was collaring black rhinos, but the subspecies the Biconis one, the bigger species of black rhino. This is at Ado National Park. It's one of our parks that falls under the Kruger, I mean the South African National Park. So here we had some rhinos that were black rhinos that were grazing around here. You see, it was just after the rains. We had to push them away from this area before we dart them, because you do not want to take a risk and dart, especially a black rhino, close to this water. Because those ones, I mean, white rhinos, they cooperate much better compared to black rhinos. I've seen black rhinos jumping into the rivers. I've seen black rhinos jumping into dongas. And I mean, not just seen them, I've experienced it while I'm working. So these sort of areas that I was trying to explain, that you need to assess your area. And if it's like these or you can't work properly, you can just ask your pilot to push them nicely to the other direction if they allow you. But there are times where they won't allow you, they will just get under the bush. And then that's where I will just be patient and if I have to abort the operation, I abort the operation or go to the next patient. So the drugs that we commonly use in immobilizing black rhinos and white rhinos, etophine, I would say, is the popular one. All over the world, they know it. They use it. It's and also one of the old ones compared to thiafentanyl. So with white rhinos, I prefer the etophine and azaperone. So some people use also add higher lace. Higher lace sort of reduces the induction time of the drug. So how does it reduce the induction time? So I don't know if everyone understand what induction time is. That's the time from that in to when the animal goes down or get anesthetized. So hyalase, it's an enzyme that also helps dissolves the drugs that you have in your gut. So with white rhinos, I usually use etophine, depending on the size of the animal. With big bulls in the Kruger, you can even go 5 milligrams to 6 milligrams. Some of them, they will still give you tough time going down. And then that etophine, you also add azaperone in, sort of to have, it also reduces the blood pressure and also have smooth induction time. And then thiafentanyl on black rhinos too, you can still use etophine. And you see, I've got three drugs here, main drugs here on top, which is etophine, thiafentanyl, and butorphanol. These are my main drugs for both black and white rhinos. So with white rhinos, it's very complicated. It's very complex because they are very sensitive. They are very sensitive to opioids. All these drugs are opioids. So with white rhinos, as soon as you dart them with etophine, when they go down, when they're down, you have to make sure that you go and give butorphanol. Why butorphanol? Butorphanol, it's a partial antagonist. It sort of reverses some of the effects of etophine. Things like respiratory depression. Etophine does that to a white rhino. White rhinos are very sensitive. This is a message that you need to take home. White rhinos are very sensitive to etophine. You can easily kill them with etophine, or if you delay giving butorphanol. So the butorphanol, you're just gonna give. I give people give different dosages. Some give 7 milligrams of. I mean, they give 7 times. I mean, a milligram of as of etophine. I don't know if I mean I'm being clear. If you gave 1 milligram of etophine, it means you need 7 milligrams of butorphanol, and then you just multiply your milligram of etophine by 7. But I do it with 10, which is much easier because my head is not made for multiplication in those. So, and when you're in the bush, you need to work with workable numbers. So it's 10 times the dose of the etophine, and then you will reverse those adverse reactions that the rhino will be having. We'll talk more about it when we go to monitoring. And then oh, and never, I mean, and then with thiafentanyl, that's what I use in black rhinos. I prefer to use thiafentanyl in black rhinos because black rhinos are less, are less prone to those side effects that opioids cause on rhinos. They can handle opioids very well, and the immobilization is straightforward. I use thiafentanyl depending on the size of the animal. It can be 5 milligram on a big bull, especially with the with the biconis. Then also put azaperone again on the dart, and then I use straight azaperone and thiafentanyl. And some people still mix thiafentanyl and etophine, and then half depending on the vet, on the who's doing the operation, how what they prefer and how they want it. But the difference now with thiafentanyl alone, the good thing about it is it's got a shorter induction time. Like I told you with black rhinos, i- im- immediately after darting, they just run. They don't listen to the helicopter. They are not easy to control. So you want them to drop as soon as possible. You want them to go down as soon as possible. That's why I prefer the thiofentanyl because it's got the shorter induction time. And also, they with the anesthesia, it's not as long as the atropine one, the thiofentanyl one. And then with white rhinos, the thiofentanyl, I wouldn't prefer to use the thiofentanyl. Like I said, white rhinos are very sensitive to these opioids. I would rather stick to the one that we can manage. We can manage the atropine because with thiofentanyl, they have shallow breath. You can barely see the breathing, and it's a scary thing to witness. So I avoid it. So butorphanol, like I said, it's a partial antagonist. What I can advise when you're working with um, black rhinos are very sensitive to butorphanol. So the only time you give butorphanol to a black rhino, that it's when you think he's not doing well, he's not breathing well, and even when you give that butorphanol, I start with just a 5 milligram because if you give a lot or the same dose that you give a black rhino, they will get up. They will get up. And you know what it means when a black rhino gets up when you wake while you're waking. They are angry rhinos. They are going to kill you. Remember that. And then dart sites, I have highlighted where you want to put your darts. I mean, most of these we have already touched on with our previous speakers. You need huge muscles to put your darts in. Remember, the darts are your remote injections. Thank you, Dr. Dagmar, for sort of explaining the darts. It's one thing that I left out. And I use the new dart. Um, she explained the new dart if you have been following. So the best place for me to put the dart is always on the ramp. From a helicopter, it's on the ramp and on the midline, but always make sure it's on the side of the spine. Because if you go in the middle, you're going to hit a spine, and then your needle it's gonna block, and you're not gonna be able to administer that drug into the rhino. And also, when you do the ramp, there are the hip bone. Sometimes you go a little bit forward and you hit a hip bone, and then you end up having your dart blocked, and then there's no drug injecting into the animal. And then when things like this happens, when the animal is down, and then you will be forced. I mean, when the animal is still running, you will end up with an animal that's running. And then when you're working with wildlife or rhinos or any animal, you don't want them to run longer because they end up with capture myopathy or they end up overheating. So always make sure that you place your darts at the right place where you've got enough muscles and enough innervation and I mean blood vessels. So when you're darting from the ground, especially where in an enclosure or with white rhinos, I mean these another dart side, the neck and also the shoulder. But with the shoulder, you have to up your pressure, especially when you're using a projectile that uses gas pressure. You have to make sure that the pressure is a little bit more because this the area where it's the toughest with all the areas around the rhino. This the toughest one. It's like an armor. And then also the thigh, you can use the thigh if you're on the ground or just at the back of the thigh. And then the darts that I use, like I said, it's new darts. You can fit all your drugs on a 2 mil, and also a proper needle. You need a needle long enough to reach to go through the skin and then reach the muscle. And then from 2 inch on 2 inch, that's for both black and white rhinos. And then some can still go for 2.5 inches. So the problem with very long needles, when you hit, they bend, and that's also one of the problems. And also, you can, if you are hitting where you don't have a lot of muscles, you can easily hit a bone, and then that needle clogs. And then I also prefer a needle that has a side pots and a gel collar. Some needle they've got barbed wire to keep the darts on the animal, like what Dr. Dagmar was saying. Um, you want your dart to stay on the animal. Sometimes when you're darting more animals, you will be confused which one have you darted more, who have you darted already. Because sometimes I get to dart 3 or 2 rhinos at a time from a helicopter. Sometimes you get confused which one you have darted. I've done 5 at a time too. So I prefer the gel collar instead of a barbed wire. Why? I mean, the gel collar in both black and white rhinos, the skin is very tough, eh? And when you have to remove a dart with a barbed wire, it's not easy. And then most of the time, the that barbed wire you end up leaving it behind under the skin because the skin it's just tough and rigid, so you can't manipulate it like on a lion or an antelope. So I prefer the gel collar because you just pull it, it melts, it doesn't leave a lot of trauma on this on the subcut. So we have also skinned animals that we were doing postmortems, or animals that we euthanized, and check the difference between the gel collar and the wire barb. Wire barb do a lot of damage under the skin when you pull them out. So like I said, white rhinos you can take your chance and dart them on foot, and then also easier from a vehicle and also from a helicopter. But black rhinos, whoa, I will stay away from foot and vehicle. I will just dart them from a helicopter unless if they are in an in enclosure or a bomber. And do not forget to treat the dart site, because with this thick skin, they usually get abscesses if you don't treat that site. And then you, after removing that dart, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that intramammary mastitis treatment ointment, which is a tube with a long nozzle that you can fit into the dart hole and squeeze the antibiotic into the dart hole. And if you don't have that, some people they just draw up antibiotics and then just squeeze into with what you call it, an 18 gauge needle, and then squeeze into the dart hole to avoid abscesses. So after putting in the dart, you will wait and see the signs. I mean, it depends on it's mostly it's plus minus 5 minutes. Some can go long depending on your dart placement. If you've got a bad dart placement, you can even go to 15 minutes. And then there are times where you need to know, like, I mean, now I need to put another dart that one didn't go off. But some of them, they will show you, especially with a bad placement, they will show you signs. With those signs are like slowing of pace or high gaits when they stepping. It's like they are riding a bicycle, like very fast, but not going far, not moving that fast. So with a successful dart, they will do that. With white rhinos, they usually, especially bulls, I don't know why bulls, they don't really fall down that easy. They usually just get stationary and be on a locked position with their head up and their back legs down, and sometimes they can just sit on their hind legs. And then you can up and then with black rhinos. Black rhinos are the interesting ones. Like I said, black rhinos, don't know why they call them black rhinos, except instead of just calling them mad or crazy rhinos. What they do when you dart them, like I said, they run, most of them they run. And when they run, somehow, even when you're darting them in an open area, when they run, when they go down, most of the time they choose that one thick bush and just lodge themselves in there. Or some of them you will find them in the middle of what you call them, where the tree does this Y or V shape on its trunk. They just go and lodge themselves there, and that's when they stop. And then yeah, that's how it is. Um, and then when you get the I think I mixed up the slides, but anyway, we'll go on with the recumbency. How you wanna work when you wanna work, depending on what you wanna do on the animal. Which recumbency is the best? Is it sternal or is it lateral recumbency? Um, Honestly, also depending on the species or if it's a white or black rhino, which recumbency is most important. Remember, these are not your ruminants, so they can lie on the side without having them to regurgitate or getting bloated. So you can use both sternal and lateral recumbency. Also, depending on what you want to do on the animal, you might want to work on the wound that's on the side, or you might want to dehorn, or you might want to notch. If you want to notch, you notching. Obviously, the sternal recumbency is the best one while you're notching. So, but you in both of these recumbencies, you are compromising something. So, as a veterinarian, you need to choose which one are you willing to trade off. So, with white rhinos, I'll start with white rhinos. White rhinos, yes, you can do both sternal and lateral, like I said. But remember, when an animal is sitting like this, like a heavy animal, we're talking a rhino bull can go up to 2 tons. That's 2,000 kilograms. When a rhino is sitting on its feet, you're compromising the blood flow into the limbs, and you might end up with a rhino that might not wake up. I mean, he will wake up, but he will not be able to get up if your operation or your procedure is longer. So, and also with this recumbency, you get proper ventilation and all your lungs are functioning very well. They are all open, but the problem is your limbs. You compromising your limbs. When you go to a lateral recumbency, now your ventilation it's not as good as when you are on external recumbency. Yes, you're saving your legs. Your legs are getting circulation. The animal will wake up and walk. But here, when it has been proven, we've been doing a lot of researches in the Kruger National Park, and then it has been proven that when a rhino is lying on a lateral recumbency, only one lung is working on full potential. So the other lung does collapse. So it doesn't really work as efficient as the other one. So you can compromise ventilation, but it's not as significant as you think, or you don't want to put an animal on lateral recumbency because this and that. No, with compromised animals, maybe yes, you might have that problem. So with black rhinos, when you get there, I don't know if they have any recumbency. Like I said, they are always in the bush or always, unless if you're darting in a very open area, they end up falling. It's either they fall and sit down. Most of the time, they go lateral. And for me, also with lateral recumbency, with black rhinos, because they are very sensitive to also capture myopathy, and also with the muscle damage, they damage their muscles more compared to white rhinos. Um, a lateral recumbency for me is the best for black rhinos, especially you don't want to compromise their limbs if you're going for longer procedures. I mean, I've done a lot of procedures on sternal recumbency on black rhinos without having problems. But if your procedures are more than 30 minutes, please roll the animal on the side, on the side, just to let blood flow into the limbs, especially from a long run when the animal was running for long. Now you've got all that lactic acid buildup on your limb muscles. So you need your animal on the lateral recumbency, blood flow, and then oxygen supply into your muscles. Otherwise, you might have a problem. You'll have a wake rhino, but a rhino that cannot walk. So as soon as it's safe to approach, make sure you've got the following: the blindfold. So there are different types of blindfolds. Some people use towels. They just make a hole in the middle of a towel and then put that hole through. You put the back horn through into that hole and cover the eyes. So these are also to reduce visual stimulation and also to protect the eyes. And you also have these fancy blindfolds that people make and also modify. And then with white rhinos, especially bulls, most of them might still be standing. You can use a rope. You can tie on the legs and then pull them down, or you can even just push them down. If you're strong enough, they will fall. And then with us, when we work with these animals, when we do the dehorning, you don't have a lot of manpower. It's just a team that has a vet, an assistant, a pilot, and a ranger for safety. So you only four people. It's not easy to manipulate these animals when you only four people. With dehorning, you just do what you can. So if some animals are lying on their feet, you can't even push them push them on the side. You just work with them and work quickly and wake them up, and you let them go before they start damaging their legs. So you also need a head rope, especially when you're going to walk the rhino into the crate or walk the rhino to a clear area to be able to work properly. And also, it works nice to secure your blindfold. You can have a rope around your blindfold, especially when you're walking these rhinos. So your rope, it's either it can go behind the the back horn and goes just on the arc of the mandibular bone. For when you pulling the rhino, it doesn't slips off or snap the horn. And you can also have another rope on a back leg. That rope, we call it a brake rope. So when you're walking this black rhino, you have people on that rope to just pull it if it's walking too fast. So, and then earplugs are also important, just to reduce the auditory stimulation. Um, Sometimes with short procedures, I don't use the earplugs, but with black rhinos, like I said, they are crazy. And when they get stimulated and wake up, they don't wake up very slow. They wake up quickly and angry and are ready to kill. I always, I mean, most of the time, I will lie if I say always. Most of the time, I will use these earplugs on black rhinos. And also, the other thing with black rhinos, do not approach them from the front. They don't give you warnings when they get up. They just get up and go. Usually, when I approach a rhino, I go, if it's still standing, like this white rhino here, I go and pull the tail just to test the anesthesia, yet how deep they are. And then sometimes they will try to just walk, they are sleepwalking, and then you just push them. If you can't push them down, you can use the rope and trip them with the rope. And then you can start working with the animal. So this the rope that I was talking about, the one at the back of the foot. But here, like I said, you see this area it's open, it's fairly open. But this is a black rhino, decided to just go into this bush. Most of the time it's like that, open, but they just choose a bush and then just lodge themselves in there. Sometimes you get to a point where you cannot even remove them from that bush. We just open chainsaw. Yes, it's very loud. That's why you need those earplugs. I mean, to minimize the sound. So You just you chainsaw through the bush and get the access of whatever you want to work with. If you're dehorning, get the access of the horn and the ears for notching and also for taking blood. So sometimes it gets difficult when you work with black rhinos. You end up with scratches and all those. When you go back home in the evening when you're showering, it's just now you feel those scratches when they start stinging. And then sometimes these animals, they also struggle to, when you wake them up, they struggle to get themselves out of these bushes. So what I usually do, always tell the pilot, because everyone, when they're struggling, they just want to push them, and let them push them to get out. Because these animals, they are always, when they wake up, they just want to fight. They will fight the bushes and end up killing them. I mean, hurting themselves. What I do, I put a GPS location on the area and just move away and let them sort it themselves, and then I'll come back after 30 minutes and check if they are gone, if they manage to get themselves out. I mean, this is nothing. You get situations where they are crazy, where a rhino is hanging, the other half is hanging on a donga and then held by some branches, where sometimes you have to climb over the rhino to work with the rhino, or just climb trees to work the rhinos. That's black rhinos for you. So, as you can see, talking about climbing rhinos, this is me now. It was not a black rhino, this is a white rhino, which I couldn't push over. So he was standing, he stayed up. We were doing a dehorning operation. So this is a maintenance dehorning. You can see the horn already, this animal probably being dehorned a previous year. So we were just going to continue or maintain the horn size. So, because disadvantaged when it comes to height. Most of the time, I have to climb these rhinos to get butorphanol in to get the veins in the ear. When they stand, I'll have to climb them. So with black rhinos, like I said, always stay clear, always work on the side. You don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes vets are too tired. Instead of injecting whatever then they need to inject, or tranquilizers that they need to inject, they end up injecting antidotes or butorphanol. And this animal ends up getting up. When he gets up, he just goes. He might go with you and injure you. So the other interesting one, while you darting or identifying the area to dart, or the combination to dart, like I said, sometimes you dart more than one animal at a time. So you also need to assess the area and also assess or predict where they are going to run, the direction, and where they are going to fall. So if you've got an experienced pilot, or a pilot that knows how you work, they know your induction time, they know how you place your dart placement. They can predict that, and then you have to talk with the pilot. You have to talk. You cannot be quiet. You need to be in sync, and then you need to know what's next. The pilot needs to know what you're going to do. What I do, I always talk. Whatever I do, it's like also just making up a dart. I tell the pilot I'm making up a dart. Since we're working with dangerous drugs here, the etophine is very dangerous. It's one of the things that you need to also watch out, not prick yourself with etophine, because you're definitely going to die if you don't reverse it. So you always tell the pilot, I'm making up a dart, then the pilot will fly steady. If you have identified your animals, um, you should always, while you're making up your darts, you should always talk that you've got your eyes off the animals, because especially black rhinos, they just disappear. You look away, you look back, you don't see them. They just disappear. They might end up under the bush and stand there and wait for you to leave. So I also tell the pilot, now I'm putting the dart into the barrel, and then I'll let him that I'm safe. Also, when you're working from a helicopter, you need to make sure that you're safe. You need to secure yourself, seat belts, and also the harness. I also put on a harness, and that I strap myself on the helicopter. for in case if I fall from the seat belt, it also catches me. So I always tell the pilot that I'm safe. That's the first. If I don't say it, he asks, "Are you safe?" And then we can go ahead, and then we communicate while we're following the animals. So the cow and calf combinations. These are very interesting combinations while you're darting. Um, with white rhinos, they are not that complicated. You get few of them that separate. That happens mostly if you darting them in a thick mopani or in a thick bush. They do separate, and it's also advisable to start with the mother. So I always start with the mother, and then if I know it's a perfect dart, then I go to the young one. That's with white rhinos. And then the mother will stop. With white rhinos, mostly their behavior, the calf runs in front of the mother. So he will run and pull the mother. So the mother, even when she's darted and also showing signs, she has that edge of just pushing further, pushing, forcing, following the calf. Um, but usually the calves they run and look back. If the mother stops, they come back to the mother. And also by then they are getting affected and then they go to sleep. With white rhinos, you get few that separates, but you do get those ones that they just run, they just bolt, and then you end up with calf separating from the mother. So with black rhinos, like I said, those are the problem rhinos when it comes to cow calf combinations or a lot of things. For me, I find it interesting working with black rhinos because they're full of challenges. With with the habitat, it's thick bush, and the calf follows the mother. The calves are mostly at the back, and when you put your dart on the cow, she runs. I'm telling you, most of these black rhino cows, I think they're bad mothers. When they run, they don't look back, they just run. They don't care what the calf is doing. So I usually just let the mother run. I let the mother run, and then from there, when I am sure that the mother is affected and she's showing signs, I go for the calf, and that calf will just follow the mother. That's if it doesn't always work. With black rhinos, most of the time it's luck when they stick. It's luck. Most of the time they just split. So I've tried different ways of doing it. You can still dart the cow alone and then not dart the calf, and then you pull away. You let the pilot just observe from far, and then not put pressure with the helicopter. When the mother runs, the cow follows if the calf is not being pressurized by the helicopter. And then when the mother is down, the calf will go to the mother. That's when you walk. You can land and get out of the helicopter. You sneak up to the calf and then you put a dart on the calf. You can still do that in white rhinos if you're afraid they will split. You you dart the mother, you wait for the mother to go down and then land and then go sneak on the calf that will be around the mother and put a dart from the on foot. But with white rhinos, I always worry because they are very sensitive to opioids. When you need to give butorphanol as soon as possible. So if you're doing that, you have to be very quick. You need to go that calf very quickly and make sure the induction time on the calf is quick, so you can go and give butorphanol to the cow that's struggling. Even when you're doing that, you will see that this calf, the cow is struggling now. It doesn't have enough oxygen. It's struggling with atropine, depressing the respiratory system. So even when you reverse the black rhino, usually prefer to start with the calf. At least I start with the calf because when they get up, some of them they just get up quickly. and run. Some of them, they get up and just start eating without a problem. And then with the cow first, I like to do the IM and give myself more time to run back to the helicopter. Because with IV, they wake up very quickly, and then they might chase you back to the helicopter. If you're not quick enough, they might get you. It has happened. So this is just I was darting black rhinos. You see, it's a cow-calf combination. Here it's the other way around. This an old adult. I mean, a calf which is about to be a sub-adult. It's about over 2 years already. This calf is ready to break away from the mother. That's why you see even the way it's behaving. It's just moving in front of the mother. So here, like I said, with these animals, you put a dart in, you look away, you look back, you're not gonna see them. You're going to lose them in here. This is just an example of how thick it can be when you're darting a black rhino. And here, obviously, this animal went into the thickest bush. We had to chainsaw our way in to access this calf. So this black rhino, cow and calf. If you see a black rhino, cow and calf darted and lying next to each other like this, wow, this is good. I mean, I can tell it was easy. You can see it's the area is open, fairly open. They could see each other. I'm guessing this picture, it wasn't me, it's someone else. So I wasn't sure. I'm not sure of the situation, what happened here. Because some of the times when they do separate, they can separate up to 1 kilometer apart. Sometimes they separate even before you put in a dart. While you're still going there checking the sizes, they just bombshell, they separate. And then there, sometimes I leave it and not intervene and then go to the next patient. But if the calf is older, 2 years, I can still go and that the mother and work with them and not really work with the mother and go follow the calf and that the calf and work with them separately. um, I'm not worried about monitoring a black rhino compared to a white rhino. They handle the anesthesia very well and they don't need butorphanol. Most of the time, they handle it well. What you need to do if they are not breathing well, you just give a little bit of butorphanol. You can start by 2.5 milligrams, but if you go higher dosages, they will wake up and they will stand up and kill you. So also with more than 3 animals, more than 2 animals, especially with white rhinos, where you get a combination of a cow and a young calf and a previous calf. So you're getting a cow, the sub-adult, and a calf. What you do, how I do it, I start darting the cow, and make sure the dart it's placed well. So do not rush when you're doing that when you're darting more than 3 or 2 animals. All you need to do, you need to take your time, make sure that you're putting your placement properly. Otherwise, if you get a bad placement, the whole operation is messed up. You're going to get a bombshell. You're going to have other animals sleeping, others running around. So you can start with the mother. You make sure that that is placed nicely. And then you go for the sub-adult and then make sure it's placed nicely. And then go to the little one. Make sure that that is placed nicely. The little one, you can still leave it and wait until the others are sleeping, and the little one will come back to the others and dart from the ground. And the other thing, if you wanna dart 2 animals from a group of 3, it's a bad idea, especially with white rhinos. Remember, white rhinos are herd animals, so they follow each other. So if you're darting more than 2 animals, you're darting 2 animals from a group of 2. It's either you dart all 3 or you just dart one. Because if you dart the mother, yes, will go down, but But the other one, the young adult that you don't want or you don't want to dat, it's not down. The calf will keep following that animal, will keep following the moving animal and leave the mother. So it's much better to just dat the three of them or just work with one. Or sometimes when you get bad separations, especially with very tiny calves that are obviously less than a year, 6 months, we go and recover them and then we carry them, we put them in the helicopter, we fly them back to the mother and then work with them next to the mother and wake them up next to the mother. And also when they split, when you wake them up, with older calves, talking 2 years, 2.5, they do find each other. Even when it's a big split. I have seen them calling each other. After that, people make a mistake when they see animals, when they see that split, let's say a 500 meters split, when they wake them up, they still go and push them with a helicopter trying to get them back together. That's a mistake that a lot of people make. No, the more you put that helicopter on top of them, you just scare them more, they just run apart. So what you do, you just fly away. They will find each other. I've witnessed it. There are times where you wake the white rhinos and then a helicopter get called back for an emergency or chasing a poacher. Then it means you have to hide somewhere in the bush and watch them waking up. If they are apart, when they wake up, a younger one has will vocalize, and also the older ones, they've got a sound that they make. They vocalize and then they find each other by that. Even when they are very far apart, they they find each other. Unless if it's a very little calf that might get attacked by predators, then you have to get it closer. So when the rhinos are down or a rhino is down, with the monitoring, most of the time, my work is in the bush, in rugged condition, like you saw. I don't have I don't have time to carry all this machinery to attach on the animal, and most of these operations are quick operations, like the dehorning, the notching. Less than 30 minutes, I'm out of there. So when I get in there, when you get in there, um, secure the animal, blindfold, and make sure that the animal is secure. With white rhinos, when you get there, most of the time they will be showing tremors. And then I always call it also shaking violently. That's also a side effect of atophin. So I always say they are crying for butorphanol. So now when it's like that, that's when you give butorphanol, and then after giving butorphanol, even the heart rate drops. With white rhinos that needs butorphanol, when you get to them, the heart rate is about sometimes 140. The first thing that you do when you get to a white rhino is give butorphanol, just to reverse some of those side effects that are caused by atophin. And then after that, after the butorphanol, you just wait for a few minutes. The heart rate will go down. Usually, it might go down to 80 from 140 after the butorphanol, and then it will now beat softly. Before the butorphanol, you've got the heart rate is even beating so hard you can even hear it from the animal. But as soon as you put butorphanol, it goes down and give you the muffled sounds. Sometimes even with the uh, when you try to listen, you can't even pick it up. So when I in the bush, when I monitor black rhinos, I do not rely on the heart rate. I rely on respiration. So with respiration, because with both species, the opioids they they depress respiratory system with maybe less depression on black rhinos. Black rhinos can handle it, but with white rhinos, I'm very careful with respiration. I have to observe the rate and also the depth of the respiration. Sometimes you will get a low rate, but if it's deep, it's what you call big tidal volume. If it's those big breath, I don't worry. But if it's shallow breath and the rate is low, I worry. I give a little. I can add another bit of butorphanol, 10 times the dosage of the atropine. And then also always always check the body temperature, because most of the time in Africa, our temperatures are very, very harsh. It's mostly the heat that we fight with. With rhinos, they're also, because they also overheat very easy. So always make sure that you've got water. It doesn't matter the weather of the day. You never know, anything can change. Always have water with you. There are times where you're doing long procedures. You might even have shelters. You can make shelters over the rhinos. And then also when you put water on the animal, I usually focus on bigger muscles, because those are the muscles that overheat a lot. Those are the muscles that are burning oxygen. And then also with white rhinos, they've got tremors. Those tremors, they're so violent that they also increase your oxygen consumption and also create more heat. That's why you need to apply your water, mostly focusing on those big muscles. And then when you're taking samples, always use, especially blood, always check the blood. That blood will also indicate to you if your animal is hypoxic or your animal is doing well. Sometimes the blood is very, very, very dark. With that, it's either I give the animal extra butorphanol just to improve respiration, or I just work quickly and wake the animal up and avoid the problems that happens after hypoxia. So with black rhinos, yes, they handle the anesthesia well, and then there are some individuals that will have problems with breathing, shallow respiration, and very low rate. Those are the ones that I'll give a little bit of butorphanol. But when you give butorphanol, you wait a bit, a minute or two, and see if there is a change. If there is a change, you go on and work. And then if there is no change, I'll usually wait for another 5 minutes and give another dose of butorphanol. But also be careful when you give butorphanol to black rhinos, they wake up. And then also the other interesting thing, if you're taking samples, if you go and draw up blood before you give butorphanol, you will see how hypoxic the animal is. The blood will be very dark. But a few minutes after giving butorphanol, the blood is less hypoxic, and then it's more bright red. But for the vein, obviously, it's not going to be as bright red as the artery. So when you go when you're done with your operations or your procedures that you're doing, when you go and reverse, also depending on what you were doing, when you reverse, if you want to reverse the animal to go back and mind his or her business, you we use naltrexone. Naltrexone is a full opioid antagonist. So if you use naltrexone, know that you're not going to work with that animal anymore. So you done the animal, the procedure is done, the animal is done, you're going home. So because you're not gonna be able to that animal again. I have situations that happened, and then we had to go with very high dosages of naltrexone, but they were not working. And then with high dosages of opioids to put the animal down again, but still they were not working until we just had to come up with meditomidine and ketamine, and but which I don't prefer. And if you are recovering the animal, you loading that rhino, black or white rhino, you don't give naltrexone at all, because when you're loading and transporting, you still need to maintain that immobilized status of the animal. You want the animal, I mean, you want the animal standing, but still under light anesthesia. But if you give naltrexone, you cannot manipulate your animal, because now your animal is fully awake. It's fighting in the crate. It's bashing everything and stressed. And even with tranquilizers, they still, you can't control them if you load them and give them naltrexone. So with loading, we use butorphanol and diprenorphine, which AKA the M5050. And then also I had to coin this and do not use naltrexone on loading. So, and also make sure after working before reversing the animal, make sure that your dart is removed. You don't want an animal running around with darts, especially if you're working in a park that's full of tourists. Otherwise, you're going to trend having a rhino running around with darts. It happens to a lot of vets. It has happened to me too. So you just need to make sure that everything is done, all the darts are removed. If sometimes you can have two darts on one animal, make sure that the darts are removed and also the dart wound is treated. So with black, I mean, both black and white rhinos, they normally wake up and start eating. With black rhinos, mostly they wake up and run. Some of them, they wake up like big bulls. They wake up and just, this one just got woken up. He woke up and just continue eating. And then, yeah, it was business as usual. So these pictures, I was just putting in the pictures to show you how we walk these animals and get them into the crates when you want to transport them. So when you want to transport them, you transport them in crates. You have rhino crates for you've got rhino crates for black rhinos and also for white rhinos. So black rhinos, because they are bigger than, I mean, white rhinos, because they are bigger than black rhinos, you need bigger crates. And then with sun parks, we use the crates that are sort of a rhomboid shape. That it's just to maximize the space on a truck. We can put as much as we can on the truck with the animals still facing on the side and still backwards on from the direction to the direction where you're coming from. So what you do when you load a white rhino, after darting, I usually dart the animal with less azaperon, because azaperon is a tranquilizer. So I want that animal to be able to get up when I want the animal to get up. So um, when you get to the animal, make sure you take your samples quickly, and then you get your ropes around the animal, the one on the head, the front rope, and then the other one at the back. That's the one that you're going to use to control the rhino if he's moving too fast. Pulling it back. Have your team, have some people on both sides of the rhino. You get another team in front of the rope, and then on the front rope, and then you get less people on the back rope. And then you give butorphanol. Already you would have given your first butorphanol just to counter the atropine side effects. And then here you're going to give your second dose of butorphanol. Sometimes you don't even have to give your second dose of butorphanol. You get your animal on a sternal recumbency, and then you get all the guys ready. Always make sure everyone who's around the animal knows what's going on. Before the captures, the most important thing, have a briefing. You tell the team what's going to happen. Sometimes you will have visitors or students, people who's never done it. So you explain to everyone what's going to happen, the dangers, and and also where to be and where not to be. So you get your teams around the animal on both sides just to make sure they balance the animal while you're walking it because it's not fully awake. So what you do, you can use a prodder. You see there's a prodder here. First, you move the animal on sternal position, and then you make sure the front legs are outside in front of the animal. Sometimes it's too heavy to get them, untuck them from the bottom of the animal. You can use a rope to pull them out. So, and then you can use your product to stimulate the animal to get up. If the animal is not getting up, you can add your butorphanol dose, another 10 times the dosage of etofin. And then sometimes it takes long. They don't wanna get up. They are too tired. What you can do is turn them back to sternal to lateral recumbency and then pump their legs and let them rest at least for 10 minutes, pumping their legs, and then get them back to sternal and then restart again. And they will stand up and walk nicely towards your crate. And then you get them in the crate and you close the crate. And then obviously you will need a truck with a crane to load that crate on top of the truck. And then while they are there, that's when you go and inject diprenorphine. Diprenorphine, um, it's also a partial antagonist, so it will wake them up a little bit. They will stay standing, or some of them they will sit. They are awake but not fully awake. So you don't want to be going around traveling with a rhino that's sleeping in the crate. They might end up sleeping on their legs and not be able to get up. And you don't want to end up. Also, you just need to keep that balance. You don't want them to be fighting in the crate. So as long as you don't have naltrexone, you can manage them with your azaperone as tranquilizer to tranquilize them more, and also give them long-acting tranquilizers for long trips. Um, yeah, and monitor them while you're driving. I always drive every 2 hours. I stop and monitor them because the other danger when you're transporting them while they are in a crate, if they're too tranquilized, they lean on the crate. So they lean with their head on the crate, and then imagine you traveling 4 hours or even 8 hours with a rhino that's putting all its weight on its neck. What's gonna happen? You end up with stiff necks. Some rhinos don't make it because of that. Some vets do give anti-inflammatories before they load them, for in case they start leaning for longer periods. So at least you have anti-inflammatory to counter the results. So these are also just a picture of a crate going down, ready to. Even when you position the crate, you must align it with the animal. Sometimes you'll have to walk these animals longer distances. We've walked 100 meters, walked them 100 meters into the crate. But with black rhinos, I prefer you find an accessible area. You put your crate right in front of the animal. When you are about to load them, when you're done processing them, you are about to load them. Same thing, put them in sternal and then adjust your crate. The black rhino crates are smaller and they are more of rectangular. So you adjust your crates. I usually, when they are sitting sternally, I usually ask the guys, you need a person who's good when it comes to operating this crane. You adjust your crate just under. I try to put the bottom, the floor of the crate right under the chin of the rhino. And then you give your butorphanol and diprenorphine. You will give the combination according to the dosages that you used, knocking them down, the opioids dosages. And then from there, what you do, you get a rope on the other side at the back. That's the braking rope. and then you get the rope on the front, on the head, and then you feed it through the crate. Then you get other people on the other side of the crate to help to pull the animal in the crate. So while doing that, get the animal on sternal recumbency, and then you give IV both diprenophin and butorphanol. So I usually give IV and make sure it's proper IV. And then I go my timer, 60 seconds. And then I always have students that will always, when it gets to 10 going down, I ask them to count down. That's where I start shaking the rhino, stimulating the rhino. And then when it hits 0, I prod the rhino. And then the guys will balance and guide the rhino into the crate. But with the white rhino, it's not as slow as, with the black rhino, it's not as slow as the white rhino. With the black rhino, they get up violently and then just run into the crate. Make sure there's no one in front of a black rhino while you're working with it. We've had an incident that we've got one guy who was putting transmitters on the horn. The black rhino got stimulated. He got up, dragged him into the crate. Luckily, the guy was not injured. He got minor bruises, but I don't think he will want to see a black rhino ever. Thank you. Here's your black rhino in the crate. This is Dr. Zimmerman, my mentor in black rhinos. Thank you. Any questions?
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Rufuno. These
Thank you.
rhinos are very complicated, yeah?
Very complicated.
Yeah. All right. Any questions from the audience? If you have a question, please raise your virtual hand or type in the chat. We only have a few minutes, so please be quick. I can see Dr. Dagma is already raising her hand. Dr. Dagma, go for it.
Hey, yeah, no, thank you so much. It's actually just a comment and not really a question. I completely share your opinion about these crazies, and we had a lot of black rhino work this year as well, and some of them on foot and the other ones on a helicopter. And yeah, it's I don't know. They're always grumpy. I think that's the take home message. They just, they always find somewhere to lodge you in, and they always try to be difficult. And when they wake up, they're just from 0 to hero in a second. And they're amazing animals. But you did a great impression of all the things that happen when you do it. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And
thank you.
We don't have helicopters. I think that's also what I wanted to say. I would love to always have a helicopter, but we are like Craig and I, we are like the ones in the bush. And it's crazy. I think the adrenaline level you get with that is just mental.
And the other thing that I forgot to mention now that you're saying the differences between those two, the white rhinos are very calm, but they are very difficult in the boma or enclosure. They don't, that's why when we treat them in the field. We put collars or tracking devices to go and do follow-up treatments. In the bomas, they are very, very, they don't adjust, they don't adapt unless if it's a little one. They die, from maladaptation in the boma. And then the black rhino, as crazy as they are, in the boma, they are sweethearts. From around day 5, they are eating from your hand. They are eating carrots, apples from your hand. That's I find it very interesting.
That's really interesting indeed. Wow. Okay. We have another question from Judith Sululu. She says, what did you say on how we can do, what did you say we can do when you have a deeply tranquilized the transported animals? What? Okay. What can you do if you have you have transported a deeply tranquilized animal? I think that's what she wanted to write.
Okay. I don't know. I'm not sure if I had the question. If I'm transporting a deep tranquilized animal, is that a question? So that's why I said make sure they are not deep. So when they are in a crate, make sure they are standing there. They are in a standing position, just their heads hanging. They are very light when you're transporting them. If they are deep, you have to at least give them a little bit of butorphanol to get them lighter. Or depending on which we're talking black rhinos, you can give a bit of butorphanol or just give a bit of diprenorphine, and then just to get them a little bit lighter. I mean, there are times, remember, you need to balance. You want to balance your your anesthesia. Like they have to be light, and they have to stand and not lie, not knowing. They have to be aware that they are standing. You need head hangings, not pressing on the crate. But while you're doing that, you can fail to get them to that. You give more butorphanol, they end up jumping around, and then you can give more tranquilizers. If it's not working, I usually just draw up a little bit of opioids and push it back in the bottle again. I use that same needle to draw up my azaperone and inject. They go back to their calm state, and then you can deepen your anesthesia a little bit.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alfono. Now, this last question goes to our three speakers, all of you, and it's, can you share with us one memorable moment in the bush when things did not go as you have planned and the lesson that you learned from it? I know we have lots of students who will be going that field, but what can you just share them one memorable moment when you sit down and you remember, you laugh you laugh, and yeah. I know you have shared a lot of memories, but one that is outstanding. We
I
can start
can
with
start.
you. Yeah.
I can start. Oh, so I mean, I've got a lot of memories that are like just popped up, but there is one that I will never forget. I mean, there are a lot that I will never forget, but there is one that always, I mean, whenever I tell stories, it comes first. But it's got nothing to do with rhinos. I was going to remove a snare from a hyena. It was a crazy one, a long drive to the place. Luckily, when we called, the hyena came, responded. There were so many hyenas that responded. The one that I was looking for also responded. I put a dart in. I was lucky that usually hyenas, when you dart them, they also run, they bolt. So, but that one, I was so lucky. He went and he slept in an open area. So while I was getting out of the car, when they're sleeping, I usually, just like what Dr. Dagmar said, like, I mean, I usually wait for almost 10 minutes to get them to go deeper. Because sometimes if you approach earlier, you stimulate them, they run. So while I was getting out of the car, going to recover the animal, I was with two students. One of the students, one of those guys who talk very soft and very slow, I could hear that he was saying something, but I wasn't sure what he was saying. So until he started screaming, he was like, "Dog, lions." So when I looked, I had a pride of lions that was running, running towards coming towards because we were playing hyena calls. They were irritated by the hyena call, so they were coming chasing the hyenas away. So when they got there, they just grabbed that hyena that I just started. Yeah,
Ah,
they grabbed it. I mean, a hyena is heavy, but for a lion, it was like it's nothing. And the hyena is immobilized. It's just flapping around, shaking him. And then, cause now I was just, it was confusing and adrenaline and everything. We've got a word here in South Africa that we use when we want to chase dogs away. I mean, domestic dogs. It's futsek. So I was even screaming futsek to lions to let that poor hyena. Luckily, I also had a ranger there with me. I asked him to fire some shots. He fired some shots. That's when the lion let go and they moved, And then that time I didn't care about punches. I just drove straight to the hyena, and then we loaded the hyena at the back of the vehicle. We drove back, and that hyena had a huge bite mark on the spine. So I was afraid the hyena was not gonna make it, or the spine was severed. So yeah, we said we'll find out when we wake the animal up. If the animal can't move, we'll have to euthanize. So
Yeah.
yeah, fortunately the animal was fine. That's where realized that hyenas are very tough animals, and now they've become my favorite animals before the
Wow.
before the honey badger. Thank
Wow.
you.
Ah, wow. I don't even know what to say. I can imagine the situation. Yeah. But thank
It
you so
was
much for
crazy.
sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Dagmar, can we go to you?
Just something went on in the background. I missed the connection of what the
Ah,
question was.
okay. So,
Yeah.
so the question was, share with us one memorable moment in the bush
Oh,
when things did not go as you have planned, and you learned some lessons from it. Yeah.
oh my goodness. Okay, I will give it to Isaac first because now I need to think over the past years.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Dr. Isaac.
That's a bit of an ambush.
Mm.
Maybe they take a minute.
I can tell another one while they're taking a minute. I've been
Yes, go
chased
for it.
by a lot of animals. I've chased a lot of animals, being chased by a lot of animals. So
Mm.
I've got one where we were trying to offload a black rhino, a cow and a calf. So it didn't go well. I don't know what happened. And I was in there. I was in there as a lead vet there. I was just helping. So
Mm.
the calf ended up just running. I don't know what happened. Like I think the butorphanol was a lot because we wanted to offload them and then still knock them down. So I
Mm.
was holding on a rope, the brake rope. It was a 2.5-year-old. That thing dragged me, and then it dragged me. I let go, and then it started chasing me. We were running in circles. Like I was running in circles, and I got tired. Now I'm stressed. I'm tired now. That thing is getting me. That's when one of the guys came and swapped with me. He just got the rhino's attention, and then unfortunately, he wasn't fast enough. He ended up jumping into the bush, and then the rhino followed him in the bush, but didn't get him. That's where rhino got stuck in the bush. We were able to handle the rhino, and then in the evening, while we were having a braai, I was asking the guys, the team, that where is Dan? Because he saved my life. They were like, no, Dan is not coming. He's still picking thorns off his body.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, now I think it's just always, I think there's just so much happening. You're planning for one thing and then something else is happening. But I think it was probably one of my first lion dartings in the bush. And you had a team, and we were a super small team, and we didn't really have many torches with us. So we also used some of the vehicle lights. And and all went fine, and the lion was still quite sedated. But it was when we only used Solital at that time because we didn't have anything else. So, it was a long time for it to sleep off. But then when we wanted to leave and pull out a bit to watch him, we realized that the battery went. So the second vehicle was now flat, and we were in the bush and with the lion, and we couldn't leave anywhere. And then we got like the leads out, and we wanted to jumpstart the other vehicle. And exactly that's when the lion then woke up suddenly, which he shouldn't do, but then he was suddenly awake and sort of ran to us. And then he flopped down again. But while he ran towards us, we were like, everybody was just scrambling. And we had like then 6 people on the top of the Land Cruisers. And I think that's also when the friendships end. You just like, pull people out of the way, and everybody was then on top. And, eventually we jump started the car again and we left. But yeah, I think it's just an endless number of experiences you have in the bush. And
Yeah,
I
I
think that's
can
also
imagine.
why everybody working together are like, good friends and good teams. And Lufuno, I'm also, we're working with the canine unit in the Kruger. So I texted Sam on the side saying that you're talking, and he just said, yeah, that's my brother.
Yeah, he's my good friend.
So, yeah, everybody knows each other so well. I think that's one of the really nice things about wildlife work. And when talking to students, I think really the biggest take-home message is like, you need to like it. You need to not be in it for the money. You need to be okay to be sweaty and tired and dirty. And it's all about working together, having amazing memories, and having a great teamwork. And it's invaluable, but you have to really, really love it. I think there's
That's
a lot
powerful,
to
Dr.
life.
Dagmaya.
And
Yeah, that's
also
powerful.
throw away your watches.
Yes.
Throw
That's
away your
right.
watches.
Okay. Thank you so much. Those were really interesting, and also an important advice at the end. That's so important. Yeah, teamwork and passion, they're the key to wildlife. So to our students, don't be scared. There's a lot of fun in it. You get to flying in the helicopters and doing all the funny things. Yeah, thank you so much. I would like to extend our thanks to the speakers. Thank you so much for your time. I know in this field, people, you're very busy, you're always in the bush, but now you spared some time to share your knowledge with our students. We really appreciate that. And to our students, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to having you in our last session on the 10th of November. So I would like to wish each one of you a blessed afternoon